I love hip hop. I was a church kid who wasn't allowed to listen to hip hop or any type of worldly music. You know what I mean? Like nothing secular. Only spiritual music in the home. And even if I wasn't in the home, if I was around anybody who knew my mom, which was, you know what I'm saying? Like, except for the kids that I was hanging out with, you know, because kids are kids. Like, none of my friends were going to snitch on me for listening to hip hop. But, like, I couldn't be listening to hip hop in my home or around where my mom was or where she would find out. Like, there was a time in my life where in high school, around the time that Jay-Z's Hard Knock Life was, like, the hardest thing going. She had given me her old radio, and so I used to listen to, like, at night. Like, I bought my own headphones and I would hook it up to this radio, and also bought my own Walkman at the time, a cassette Walkman. And so, like, that was, like, the only way. And she didn't, like, I'm pretty sure she knew that I was listening to more than gospel music, but she didn't, you know, that was one of the few things in my life that she didn't try to invade. Anyway, my music that I loved, like, I was heavy into Wu-Tang and all the Wu-Tang affiliates. I loved Diggle Planets, Fu-Schnickens. There was a bunch of obscure stuff that I started running into. I got introduced to Boot Camp Click by some other friends from high school, so I started listening to that. But because of gospel music, I've always kept an open mind. I've always had, like, you know, I went from one extreme of, from my perspective, I went from one extreme of the black music spectrum to another. Like, those are the two aspects that I started out with. So everything in between hardcore gangster rap or, you know, adult, you know, conscious rap or whatever, that end of the spectrum, and then the opposite end of the spectrum from that was old classic spiritual black gospel. And then my mother got introduced to a local gospel station that was basically a whole other can of worms. It was the Bible Broadcasting Network, but very, very white, very traditional hymnals and things like that. So those were the two types of music that I started out with. Everything in between all of that was fair game. So I was always late to what people were into, but I just had my pick of the litter. Like, people would tell me what their favorite stuff was, and I would notice what everybody was listening to at the time. But all that did was make me want to know more about whoever made everybody's favorite song at the time. So while people were still harping on whatever had taken over FM radio at the time, I was trying to find more stuff, and I would always be behind. You know what I mean? Like, but I say all that to say this. I think we really need to make a concerted effort as hip hop heads who actually grew up with hip hop from its infancy. I think it's time for us to start killing the narrative of all the new music is whack, because the only thing that's really changed is the volume of music to which multiple audiences internationally have access. Like, yes, there is, like, FM radio is still, like, terrestrial media is still, you know, like, foundational. Like, you will never get away from that. Everything we have now comes from every bit of terrestrial communication and entertainment. So call it old as much as you want to. You have none of this without any of that. Period. Everything has a start, and either it has a finish or it just keeps going until the end of time. This is one of those things I'm pretty sure is going to keep going till the end of time. We need to recognize that feeling you get from hearing something new being called hip hop that doesn't feel anything like the groove that you're into. Like whether you're more open-minded or you have like you have an East Coast bias or a Midwest bias, and any regional bias, any like down south bias, like any type of regional bias that you have or not, whether or not you have a more broad taste or a more very specific taste, it is time for us to stop saying back in my day, because the only thing that's changed is the access, the volume, and the amount of information we know about the industry. We know so much more about, or we have access to more information about the inner workings of the entertainment industry than any generation has ever had, especially in America, especially in Black culture. We have so much more insight and access to even the education that it takes to learn more and operate within or around the music industry, especially when it comes to hip hop. The information is available all over the place. We have all kinds of access, and yet the creativity of humankind when it comes to art, specifically what we're talking about right now, hip hop, the creativity of humankind when it comes to hip hop will always outpace the amount of things you have access to right now. As you are listening to a handful of songs that keep getting played over and over again and pushed in everybody's face, in the few minutes that you would do it right now, there is somebody hitting the button on something that they're sure that they want to put out as art that is accessible to the public. Hundreds upon thousands of people are creating music. And let me stick with it, stay with hip hop. Hundreds upon thousands of people are making rap songs for hundreds upon thousands of reasons. Righteous or not, what we need to do as people who say we want to protect the culture is to move away from the conversation about whatever that came before being better than whatever's happening now and always being better than what's coming next. Hip hop deserves better than that. I was just listening to a clip came across my YouTube feed. It's Tyler, the Creator, talking about hip hop fans in the top 5 lists, and very, very young people placing my favorite, my generation's hip hop artists in their personal top 5. And it's like, if I ask you what's your top 5, and I'm not trying to start an argument about, this is hip hop or that is hip hop, then I just want to know what you like. I don't want to hear music that you weren't even born to you weren't born for, things that you weren't even here to experience for. You did not exist yet. They're like, we can tell when there's a younger person who has a great appreciation for roots. And because of their appreciation for the roots of hip hop culture, they do love music that came before them. Because of the music that they love that came before them, they have a greater appreciation for the good music that comes out in their generation. We know those kids. They are very musical. They're not, we can casually say shit like, take it back, you know what I mean? But no, like, you're not actually supposed to take it back. There's no rewind button on life. So why are you trying to hit the rewind button on hip hop, on rap music, on human creativity in hip hop, in all aspects of hip hop? And I'm still being specific to hip hop, but now I'm talking about all aspects of hip hop, all 5 elements, and the spirit around it, business included. How much longer are we gonna go saying stuff like, we should take it back? No, you should keep creating. And if that's like, if you want to preserve an era, do that. Fucking do that. Preserve that era. Because there is no this without that. But please, stop attacking the younger generations for being young. That's how time works. Everything has a start, and then it either has an end, or it goes until the end of time. Our lives have an end, which means you have to start somewhere, and then you have to develop into something, and then you decay. Are you going to appreciate what you started with and what you have and what it took for you to get here? Or are you going to keep looking backward while trying to walk forward, which is walking backward, which makes you blind, because time doesn't work like that. Time doesn't care what direction you're facing. It's just going. It progresses upward and forward. It marches on with or without you. You know what else does? Hip hop.